Let's talk about managing the hidden physiological link between chronic pain and neurodiverse relationship stress. If you live in a neurodiverse relationship and you're dealing with chronic pain, headaches, muscle tension, digestive problems, exhaustion, poor sleep, or a body that simply seems to hurt more when the relationship is struggling, there may be an important connection worth understanding here. And I want to be careful right from the beginning. Chronic pain is real, complex, and can have many medical causes. Now, relationship stress doesn't mean your symptoms are imaginary, and nervous system regulation is not a substitute for appropriate medical evaluation or treatment. But there's another piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked. Your relationship doesn't happen only in your mind. It happens in your body, too. Every difficult conversation, unresolved conflict, sensory overload, moment of emotional disconnection, expected change, perceived criticism, or fear of another argument can produce a physiological response. And when that response happens repeatedly, the nervous system can begin living as though danger is always just around the corner. Now today, I want to show you how that can happen in a neurodiverse relationship, and more importantly, what both the autistic and the neurotypical partner can do about it. So let's get started. Your body is listening to your marriage. Imagine a couple I'll call Chris and Taylor. Chris is autistic. After a demanding day, Chris needs quiet, predictability, and very little conversation. Taylor, on the other hand, who's the neurotypical, experiences the withdrawal differently. Taylor has been waiting all day to reconnect. Taylor says, "Can we talk for a few minutes?" Chris hears another demand when my nervous system is already overloaded. Chris becomes tense. Taylor notices the tension and interprets it as rejection. Now Taylor becomes more emotionally upset. Chris becomes even more overwhelmed and shuts down. Taylor becomes more distressed. Neither person intends to threaten the other, but their bodies may be experiencing threat. Chris's nervous system may be saying, "Oh, too much input, I need to escape." Taylor's nervous system may be saying, "Hey, connection is disappearing, I need to restore it." Now imagine some version of this happening several times a week for several decades. The issue is no longer just communication. The body has entered the conversation. Now let's talk about the stress-pain feedback loop. Your autonomic nervous system is constantly evaluating what's happening around you. When it detects threat, your sympathetic nervous system can mobilize you for action. Heart rate may increase, muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallower, stress hormones and other biological processes shift to prepare the body to respond. Now, that's useful when you genuinely need to deal with immediate danger. The problem comes when the alarm system rarely gets a chance to stand down. Chronic relational stress can contribute to disrupted sleep, persistent muscle tension, fatigue, increased pain sensitivity, and changes in inflammatory processes. Stress can also amplify existing pain conditions. Then something particularly frustrating can happen. Pain itself becomes another stressor. You hurt, so you sleep poorly. You sleep poorly, so your sensory tolerance decreases. Your sensory tolerance decreases, so normal relationship friction becomes harder to manage. Conflict increases. Your nervous system becomes more activated, and your pain may become more difficult to manage. That's the feedback loop. Relationship stress increases physiological activation. Physiological activation can increase pain sensitivity. Pain reduces your capacity to cope with relationship stress, and the cycle begins again. Neither partner has to be a villain for this cycle to exist. Now let's talk about why neurodiverse couples may be especially vulnerable. Neurodiverse relationships can contain several recurring nervous system challenges. For the autistic partner, there's sensory overload, unexpected transitions, masking, executive function demands, emotional processing difficulties, and prolonged social interaction. All of those can consume enormous amounts of regulatory capacity. Now, for the neurotypical partner, repeated experiences of emotional disconnection, uncertainty, unsuccessful bids for connection, or feeling chronically misunderstood can create a different kind of physiological vigilance. These experiences are different, but both nervous systems can become sensitized. Eventually, the body may begin reacting not only to what's happening, but to what it predicts is about to happen. You see your spouse's facial expression, your stomach tightens. You hear a particular tone of voice, your shoulders rise. Your spouse says, "We need to talk," and before the conversation has even started, your body is preparing for the previous 50 conversations. Now, this is where couples often make a critical mistake. They try to solve a physiological problem with more words. But sometimes the nervous system needs regulation before the relationship needs resolution. So let's look at some tools. Here's tool number 1. Regulate before you communicate. When either partner is highly activated, don't automatically push harder for understanding. First, check your body. Ask yourself, what is happening physically right now? Maybe your jaw's clenched. Maybe your chest feels tight. Maybe you're holding your breath. Maybe you're pacing. Maybe your shoulders are elevated. Maybe you suddenly feel exhausted. So instead of immediately analyzing your spouse, identify 3 physical sensations in you. Pressure behind the eyes, tightness around my shoulders, heat in my chest. Notice the difference? You're moving from my spouse is making me crazy to my nervous system is highly activated right now. That doesn't excuse harmful behavior. It doesn't determine who is right, but it gives you something you can regulate. Tool number 2, make the exhale longer. Here's something you can use in real time. Don't force yourself to take enormous breaths. For some people, that can actually feel uncomfortable. Instead, breathe gently and allow your exhale to become slightly longer than your inhale. Perhaps inhale comfortably for 4 seconds and exhale for 6, and do that several times. Let your shoulders soften. Unclench your jaw. Allow your hands to loosen. You're giving your body information, which is this: I don't have to solve this in the next 30 seconds. We can calm down. That sentence alone can become a powerful neurodiverse marriage practice. Tool number 3, reduce sensory load. This is particularly important when sensory processing is involved. Turn down that damn television. Dim the bright lights. Stop having the argument while somebody is cooking, children are talking, phones are buzzing, and the dog is barking. Sit somewhere quiet. Sometimes what looks like emotional intolerance is actually neurological overload. And this isn't only useful for the autistic partner. A chronically stressed neurotypical partner can also become increasingly sensitive to noise, interruption, chaos, and competing demands. So please don't ask 2 overloaded nervous systems to conduct delicate relationship negotiations in a sensory battlefield. You need to change the environment first, then you can change the conversation. Tool number 4, use a physiological timeout. A timeout should not mean, okay, I'm done with you, see you later, bye. It should mean, my nervous system has temporarily lost the ability to have this conversation productively. But here's the crucial part. Always include a return time. Try this. I want to finish this conversation, but right now I'm overloaded. Can you give me like 30 minutes and let's come back to this at 7:30? That protects the autistic partner from overwhelming demands for immediate processing, while protecting the neurotypical partner from feeling that the issue has simply disappeared into a black hole again. You're not abandoning the conversation. You're creating conditions in which the conversation has a better chance of succeeding. Tool number 5, separate pain from catastrophe. When chronic pain flares up during relationship stress, the mind can quickly add another layer. Oh, here we go again. I can't live with this. My body's falling apart. My brain has cracked. My tank is empty. The relationship is destroying me. Those thoughts are understandable, but they can add additional threat signals to an already activated nervous system. So let's try something different. For example, this sensation is intense, but I don't have to fight it right now. Or my nervous system is activated, but I can help my body settle down while I decide what needs to happen next. Now, you're not denying the pain. You're changing your relationship with the alarm surrounding the pain. Now let's try what I'm going to call the couple's 90-second reset. Here's an exercise I want you to try this week. When tension begins rising, stop talking for about 90 seconds. Both partners put their feet on the floor, relax their hands, drop their shoulders, breathe slowly. You're going to notice 3 sensations in your body without trying to change them. Then and only then you're going to ask yourself one question. What does my nervous system need in order to stay present right now? Maybe the autistic partner needs less language. Maybe the neurotypical partner needs reassurance that the conversation isn't going to be abandoned again. Maybe one person needs movement. Maybe somebody needs quiet. Maybe both people need 20 minutes apart. Then communicate the need simply. I need less input, or I need some reassurance, or I need a break. I need to know when we're going to come back to this. That's neurobiological intervention happening inside a marriage. Now, let's talk about why your nervous system is part of the marriage. One of the most important shifts neurodiverse couples can make is to stop viewing every difficult reaction as a character problem. Sometimes irritability is overload. Sometimes withdrawal is physiological shutdown. Sometimes emotional urgency is a nervous system desperately seeking safety and connection. Sometimes chronic exhaustion is the accumulated cost of being activated too often for too long. And sometimes pain becomes louder when the entire system is under strain. Now, that doesn't mean every physical symptom comes from relationship stress. Persistent or worsening pain deserves proper medical attention. But alongside medical care, communication skills, and relationship work, there's another question worth asking. What has my nervous system been carrying? Because healthier communication isn't only about finding better words. Sometimes it's about helping two bodies feel safe enough to hear those words. So, this week, don't try to fix your marriage. Catch one moment when the physiological loop begins. Notice it. Name the sensations. Reduce the sensory load. Slow the exhale. Take a structured break if necessary. Then return to the relationship when your nervous system has more capacity. Because when the body stops treating every difficult interaction like a freaking emergency, something remarkable becomes possible. You don't just become better at managing conflict. You become better at experiencing each other without immediately preparing for battle. And that may be one of the most overlooked foundations of healing in a neurodiverse marriage. If this resonates, please like, subscribe. Also comment. What has your body been telling you? I'll see you in the next video. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk.